Hi everyone, welcome to Cooking with Chef Rich. Today we're going to be making some fruit platters. Let's jump right in. We're going to start with our first one. This is going to be a 16-inch round platter, and we're going to start off with our centerpiece. I have a martini glass, and what we're going to do for this, very simply, I have an orange. We're going to cut this in half, and we're going to cut in half again. We're going to cut in half again. So each half is going to go into quarters, and we're going to do the same with this. Then we're going to take a smaller knife. I'm just going to cut off the little core thingy and go about 3/4 of the way. And what we're going to do, and we're going to do this, all of these. So I screwed up a little bit. Oops. Two things we want to do. We want to cut off this white pith so it looks decent. And then this is going to go on the outside like that. And then we're just going to keep doing that until the whole glass is done. So once you're done with the oranges, I'm going to take a strawberry and put it in the middle. And then I'm going to take some more strawberries and put it around, upside down. And then I'm going to take one more, nice big one, and put it on top. And there's our centerpiece for this platter. Very, very simple. Anyone can do it. Let's have 2 quarter watermelons over here. So what we're going to do with these, let's cut the ends off first. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a line about a little over 1/2 inch, but I don't want to go through. Now we're going to peel this. When you peel it, you follow the white line all the way down, like so. You'll notice that my knife is right below the white. Now when you get over here, what you want to do is you want to go right to where that line is. Now you notice there's white here. So what I'm going to do is, in a minute, I'm going to clean it up a little bit. I'm going to go right below the white, so you get your melon nice and clean. And one more. Now when you cut this, you don't want this high. See how this is up in the air? If you cut it like this, there's a good chance it's going to break. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this up against the cutting board and then slice approximately 1/4 inch thick. When you do it, you want to try to get as even as possible. You want your slices to be relatively the same thickness. That way it'll look nice on the platter. Once you have this all sliced, we're going to put, this is going to go on this side, and this one's going to go on this side, like so. Next. So my cameraman, David, just said to me, isn't it supposed to be symmetrical? Meaning this is on the outside, close to the end of the platter, and this is on the inside of the platter. And David is 100% correct. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip it around this way. That's an oops on my part. Now, one of the things that's important, see how the grain is not lined up? You want to make sure that it's all lined up even, and that way your platter will look nice and symmetrical. Forms what they call a strong line on the platter. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to take our cantaloupe, cut the ends off, and we're going to peel it. You want to go right below the green, like so. And now you'll notice that my cutting board is shifting. So what I'm going to do, take a wet paper towel, put it down. Now it won't move. So cut this in half. And we're just going to scoop out all the seeds. We're going to take our channel knife and we're going to make some lines on this. These don't have to be perfectly even. You know, you want to try to get them somewhat even, but if they're not perfectly even, it's not a big deal. You can take the little stringy things off. If you have kids, these aren't stringy things, these are worms. You give them to the kids and they love fruit worms. Do this one too. We're going to slice 1/4 inch thick, same thickness as the watermelon. You want to make sure that slices are as even as you can get them, once again, as far as thickness goes. I never use the ends. I always find them to be a bit woody. We want this side closest to the melon. So we're going to go, actually, I'm going to move this for a minute, just to make my life easy work-wise. I'll put this over here. I'm going to slice this one. If you juice, you could throw these in the juicer. So the top one is closest to the melon. So this is gonna go this way, meaning, so when I put this on a platter, this is gonna sit closest to the melon. If I go the other way, this is close to the melon and this is on the opposite side. That way it'll be symmetrical. Next, we're gonna take some pineapple, cut the top off, cut the bottom off, do the peel. You wanna go right below the eyes. Always make sure you wipe down your cutting board after you peel any of the fruits. We're gonna cut this in half, directly in half. So I'm gonna leave over here. We're gonna do a V to cut out the core. You don't wanna go too deep or this will break in half, but you wanna cut out the core like so. You can juice this if you want. Once again, 1/4 inch thick, nice and even. Put this right here. So. Put this back. And now let's add some grapes. Gonna take some green grapes, maybe. Green grapes, red grapes. Do some small bunches of grapes. You always want to cut your in small bunches. That way people can pick up a little bunch of grapes. Some people find it easier to use a scissor. And if you want to use a scissor, by all means you can. So now when you get to the end of the grapes, you want to try to make sure that you don't see any of the stems or very little of the stems. So you want to make sure that the grapes are kind of upright, if you will, and the stems are being hidden, because that's what we call an eyesore and makes your platter look not so nice. So these strawberries are actually really huge, and I'm not sure I like the way that looks on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut these in quarters. Of course, I've washed my strawberries already. You always want to wash your berries, very important. Like so. All right. Now let's take some blueberries. Some blueberries over here. Let's take some couple raspberries and some blackberries. I'll take maybe just like one. Okay. And let's finish it up with some star fruit. The star fruit has a nice yellow color, which is what you want because that means it's ripe. But you'll see that it's also black and that looks very ugly. So I've already washed this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a paring knife and just cut the black off. You don't want to go too deep because you want to keep the shape of the star fruit. This you want to go a little bit thinner than the watermelon, maybe half the thickness or 2/3 the thickness of the watermelon. I'm not going to use the ends. I'm going to take half and just kind of fan it in your hand. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And take a look. And I think that's pretty good. So our first fruit platter is finished. Now we're going on to our next platter, and we'll start with a cantaloupe centerpiece. I want to make this into a big flower. I kind of want 5 points, or 5 petals, I should say. So what we're going to do is this is going to be 1 point, this will be the second point, and I will basically want an equal distance between each point. So basically like the distance from here to here, the distance of each one is relatively the same. And now between here and here, I'm going to put, this is how far it's going to go down approximately. Between here and here, it should go to about here. Between these two, halfway will be about here. Between here and here, halfway will be about here. Between here and here, halfway will be about here. When I say halfway, like if you were to, this is halfway in between, and then go straight down. And what we're going to do is we're going to try to make some petals. You can go straight across, but I'm going to be giving it a little bit of a curve, like so. And then, sorry, like so. Now it's not perfect, but it should be okay. Now this one is going to connect over here, with a little bit of a curve. And this one's going to go to here. And hopefully this should come off, and it's not. That means I didn't go through. So now I'm just going to kind of take my knife and make sure I went all the way through on all of them, all the cuts. Like so. Now what we're going to do over here, this I'm going to put aside, use that later. First thing I'm going to do is get a spoon, give me 1 second, and I'm going to scoop out the seeds. So now we have this. What we're going to do is I'm going to take my knife, and I want this to be probably 1/2 inch. So I'm going to go basically all the way around. I'm going to try to get the thickness of the outside as even as you can get it. It's not going to be perfect, don't worry about it. Now we're going to take that spoon and scoop this out, hopefully. Now of course this is all edible cantaloupe. Give it to the kids or juice it or whatever you like. And don't worry if inside it's not even, because we're going to be filling that in with some berries and stuff. So now I'm looking at this and I kind of want these to be a little bit deeper. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of go down a little bit to here, go down a little bit to here, just to make it a little bit deeper. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our knife and we're going to basically follow this all the way down. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. You kind of just want to go just beneath the skin a little bit. And now, one more time, what we're going to do is from here, I'm going to do that one more time, but a bit smaller. You'll see there's a line over here. So now we're going to do the same thing. And this one I've already done. All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our knife and we're going to peel right beneath, or I'm sorry, right above the green part. And anyone that has watched my videos, I do this all the time with papaya. Basically the exact same thing that I do with the papaya. You want to make sure that you go basically all the way down. And what should happen, if you do it right, so that's our petals. So that's what we're looking for. And then we'll put that back for a minute. You'll notice when I'm doing this, I'm kind of, I'm going very slow. I'm not trying to do the whole petal at a time because it's just way, way too big. Like you'll notice I do one side, then I do the other. Then I go a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. And I said 1/2 of the petal. I'm doing the other half of the petal. Good. And now what we're going to do is I want it to sit like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a little bit of the bottom off so it sits flat. Like so. So we have our centerpiece done, and I put it in the middle of a platter. And then I'm going to take a couple strawberries and fill in. I'm going to try to use smaller strawberries because once again, actually, let me cut the tops of, cut the tops off of these. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple blueberries and fill in. Take some blackberries and fill in, like so. Take some raspberries. We'll take one nice strawberry with the top on and stick it in the middle. A couple more blueberries. And we have a nice centerpiece. Alrighty, good. So I have 2 quarter watermelons. I've used a channel knife to make some lines on it. You do want to make sure that you actually cut through the green, because what's going to happen is if you don't cut through the green, when you go to separate it, it's going to stay together. Once again, you want to make sure that the green forms a strong line. Pick this up, flip it on the side, like so. What I was saying, like this one's staying together because it didn't go through. Oh, that's better. Let's take some red and green grapes. We're going to come into small bunches. So now we're going to take our bunches of grapes. I'm going to mix in some both red and green on both sides. A nice big pile of each. Once again, you want to do your best to make sure there's no stems showing. And that's good. Now we're going to take some honeydew. Obviously, I've peeled it, taken out the seeds, and scored it with the channel knife. Put this over here, like so. We'll do the other side. Put this over here. We'll do the same thing with cantaloupe. And lastly, we have some pineapple. So slice the pineapple. Put this right down the middle. Hopefully. Let's go with some strawberries. Let's do a couple of lines of strawberries. 1, 2, 3. Another strawberry over here, so it's balanced. Blueberries. Some blackberries around on the bottom. Some raspberries on the bottom. Some star fruit. Once again, we're going to take the black part off, like so. Good. This over here, like so. Take an orange and a kiwi. This is actually a mandarin orange, opposed to a big orange. Series of V-cuts, like better. One there. One on this side. Same thing with the kiwi. So go right here. And voila! So, for our next platter, we're going to start off once again with the centerpiece. We're going to start off with the pineapple. We're going to cut the ends off. So normally when I do this, I kind of curve it so I'm following the eyes. For this particular centerpiece, I want to go straight. I want my sides to actually be relatively straight. So you notice I'm not curving, like I'm not curving it, I'm going straight down. So what we're going to do with this one is first we're going to take one that's about 1/3 of an inch. We're going to do one slice, put this on its side. So we want to basically make a moon out of this, or a crescent moon I guess it's called. I'm going to be using a circle cutter. If you don't have a circle cutter, you can kind of just freehand it with a knife. But when I say circle cutter, kind of like that. And we have a moon that we're going to be putting on here. So you can use toothpicks or skewers. I'm going to use a skewer, or 2 skewers. I'm just going to cut the... Oops. Let's get another skewer. We'll try that one again. And what we're going to do is we're going to put this like so. So it stays good. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is I have a little bit of cantaloupe left over from something else I had done. If you don't have leftover, you can just cut one in half. Basically, you want to get some melon balls. I think at least 6 balls you want. So what we're going to do, I'm using it as skewers. If you have a toothpick, by all means, you can use a toothpick. We're just going to stick that in there. I'm going to use the back of a skewer to push it in all the way. And we're going to put one right over here. Once again, push the skewer in. I have a dragon fruit over here. I'm going to cut it maybe, let's say, right there. And once again, I'm going to do some balls. Once again, put one over here. You can always use toothpicks as opposed to skewers. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take some grapes and we're going to do a series of V cuts. When I say a V cut is just basically a V. So we're going to go, we're making a V here, and then we're going to, where this one ended, we're going to do another V, now another V. So I can see like this is where one started and this is where it ended. So I'm just going to kind of connect it, pull it, and you have a little design. And once again, we take some skewers. That's going into the pineapple core, which is why it's a little bit harder. Should have made the skewers maybe a little bit bigger, but that's okay. And basically, you just want to place these so it kind of like swings around, if you will. So these are all stars, and this one is just basically half a grape, and we're sticking over here. You have a little bit of a contrast in shapes. I'll do another one right over here. All right, so that's this centerpiece. For this platter, I have a quarter watermelon over here. I'm going to cut the end off. Now, I kind of want this to sit flat. Instead of being like a quarter watermelon, I want it to sit flat. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take this, we're going to cut this off. Of course, this is edible. Give to the kids or whatever you like. This should sit flat. Good. So what we're going to do is the same thing that I very often do, but we're going to kind of go at an angle. A little bit more, like so. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. Good. We're going to pick this up, and we're going to start to peel it. And then we're going to peel the outside on this side. You do want to be careful not to cut yourself. You notice I'm using a sawing motion, letting the knife do the cutting. I'll make sure your knife is relatively sharp. You don't want to have to force it, because when you have to force it too hard, that's when you cut yourself. And we're just going to try to get some of the white off a little bit, like so. Now we're going to do the same thing on this side. If you look, this side is nice and straight. This has a little bit of a curve. I'm just going to straighten out a little bit, like so. And now, kind of want to do the same thing, but just a little bit. I don't want to go too deep, because I actually want the white. I don't want to see the... Now what we're going to do is I'm going to take my cheddar knife. 1, 2, 3. As I've said before, it's not as important to make these straight. You know, you do the best you can, but if they're not perfect, don't worry about it. When you slice it, you notice that it's very thick over here, but very thin over here. I'm just going to do another small one over here, and that's fine. Now, when you slice this, you got to be very careful, because this is going to be quite fragile, and you really want to make sure that your knife goes through that green part before you really put any real pressure on it. You know, allow a big sawing motion. This whole thing up. Put it right here. And so see how it's not staying? That's because I did cut it at an angle. Like I said, that's not what I wanted to do. So what we're going to do is we are going to fix this. All right. Watching me fight with the watermelon. So before, when I was cutting it, I was saying that I'm cutting it at an angle as opposed to going straight. And what has happened is, now when I go like this, it doesn't want to, like, it keeps falling over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in little sections, make sure it's straight, and then I'm just going to trim it a little bit so it'll sit flat. So I'm going to take the next section. See that? No matter how much experience you have, you still screw up sometimes. But when you screw up, it's not how badly you screw up, it's how you fix it. Now this should stay. Which it does. How about that? The next thing we're going to do, we're going to take a candle, cut the ends off, peel it. Now you notice there's like a little bit of a bad spot. That's fine. You just cut underneath, like so. There you go. We're going to cut this in half, and then we're going to scoop out the seeds. So once it's scooped out, we're going to cut 1/4 inch slices. Get rid of the ends. You can always use the ends for juicing. Going to put one up here, up on top. I have a pineapple that I've peeled, cut it in half. Be out the core. Well, I'm cutting quickly. If you're not an experienced cutter, you should cut a little bit slower and make sure that the slices are even. You'll notice that each one is relatively even, and that's more important than slicing quicker. Like so. Alrighty. So next thing I'm going to do is I have this that I use the walls for. So I'm going to cut these off. And now what I'm going to do is the same V-cuts that I always do, I'm going to do with this. You notice that I've already used the inside, which is fine. I'm just going to do a series of V-cuts. So you'll see that this one ends here and this one ends here. So I'm going to start right in the middle. And a nice star. So I want to sit like that. What we're going to do is we're going to take our knife. We're just going to, no, that's not how I want it to sit. Let's go one more time. Try it. Yeah, there we go. And I'm going to take my paring knife and I'm just going to trim some of this off. Good. And that's going to go right here. Or, yeah, like so. All right, of course this is all edible. I have an orange. Just going to cut this in half. We're going to slice it. Now oranges I generally slice a little bit thinner than melons. Take the ends off. Mix up a little bit of a border. Now we're going to take some figs maybe. So I'm going to just cut the bottom of the fig so it sits flat. And then I'm going to three, four. And I'm going to do a line of figs going over here. So I'm going to work on that, take about 2 minutes, and I shall return. So now what we're going to do is we're going to fill in with some berries. Strawberries are huge today, but that's all right, it's all good. You always want the biggest ones in back. Okay, so we got some berries in there. And now let's take some raspberries, blueberries, and blackberries. We're going to do a line of blueberries over here. Let's do a line of blackberries and raspberries. Sorry. Blackberries are also huge. Blueberries over here. Let's take some kiwi. Cut this in half. Slice it. Put this in between the orange. What do you think?